From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBacks Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. It is Friday, the 21st of July, and you know what time it is, and you know what day it is. It's none other than one of the best day of the week, Friday. And another reason why it's one of the best days of the week is because my partner in crime, my brother from another, and just a straight up legend, just period, point blank. None other than the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson, is in the house. What's going on? How you doing today, sir? How's everything going?
It's Friday. It's payday. It's Don't Be the Pizza Man. Another week complete. We were talking backstage about baseball, and we had the All-Star break, and then a couple days off, and then last weekend, now a full week of it, and baseball been tough. It's been brutal. You zig and then you should have zagged, and vice versa. We were talking about it, and some teams that were supposed to be good that aren't good. Are they gonna shut the light out and be sellers, or you think you got one run in you? It just takes a 9-1 run. Like your Dodgers always seem to do, like the Cardinals did last year, like the Phillies have done in the past, the Nationals, another team in the past. But, it's tough. It's crunch time. The 21st of July pops. Next week is the last full week of July. Then we're into August. We'll be talking Hall of Fame game, the NFL Bet Exchange. I did a show today on fantasy football. It's time. It's time for the pigskin, brother.
Well, all of us are really excited about the pigskin, all that good stuff. And, we got more news that's coming in and breaking yesterday. They finally got the deal done. And now we have the Washington no longer under Snyder's ownership as he sells franchise for $6 billion. Will this be the turning point for the team, Jeff?
It's funny with this question, because I'm going to assume this, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I'm going to say 99.9% of the watchers, the listeners, don't remember the glory days. CBS, 4 o'clock, the Hogs. It was must-watch TV against Dallas, against the Giants, the band in the stands, the people with their pig noses, Joe Theismann, John Riggins, Art Monk, the glory days of the Washington Redskins, not Washington the team, not Washington Commanders, whatever their name is. Yes, I really, truly hope it is a turning point, because as you know, Pops, Washington, D.C. loves their Washington, whatever you want to call them.
Well, the Commanders, all that good stuff, but, we call them the Redskins, and this may be one of the worst 10 years of ownership ever, in a sense, you know what I mean? But it did start well. It just didn't end well. And I think that Snyder is really a great example of truly who these owners really are, in this new corporate phase of the NFL. We were used to the owner being a nice old man who had a nice business, a family business, families involved in the team. And you know what? It's just another asset for them. And, they become that team's biggest fan, but really it's just another asset for them. Some more money, and it really a crown jewel, something that they can brag to their friends about. And then Eddie DeBartolo came into the mix. The 49ers' former owner. DeBartolo, right? I got okay, because everybody gets him, because you'll get him and Carmen Policy mixed up very quickly. And we all know where DeBartolo really came from. They'll tell you it's his dad made malls in Ohio and all that good stuff. But come on, Ohio, Cleveland, come on. That's literally that was literally the north the other hub city for organized crime, and pretty much those guys were old school, and they took their money and made it more legitimate and made that to what it is. I know that they'll never put them on blast like that, but we know the story. And I think that they started the trend of bringing in guys that are big time, big money folks, because before it used to damn near be like you would really have to squeeze things together to get these teams. And when you hear the story of how the Lakers were bought, it's like, wow, he had to go get a building to go get the Lakers and all that good stuff. And so pretty much, hey, Connor, how you doing, buddy? Connor's in the building right now, Jeff.
What up, Connor?
Now, you have him, and I think that he set up a way to be excellent, and I think he got guys like Jerry Jones excited and Mr. Snyder excited as well, too. Guys coming from corporate backgrounds and being able to be a big boss now and, have some big kahunas and some big popularity. And so pretty much when Snyder came into the league, Snyder was the guy who brought them their corporate partners. I know that Jerry Jones gets a lot of credit, but this guy owned FedEx. He brought in a lot of people who started putting their names on the stadiums. And he was able to actually get the first right to every week one where they had the opening game on Fox for 10, 15 years because he was so good at what he did for the NFL. But then you start hiring irresponsible people within your front office, and then things get too loose, and then things fall apart. And that's what happens when you're dealing with people who have a lot of money. And when they say jump, you jump. When they say jump, you say how high. And when they say play dead, you say how long. And then when they don't want to play with you anymore, when you're not a toy anymore and they throw you away, all of a sudden you're offended by everything you ever did in that office. It wasn't a big deal when you were getting paid the money, right? Getting paid and everything, and having bonuses and things like that put on top of your desk because these people kind of signed up for it. But that's not right to say. I know it's not right to say. So pretty much, I feel like it was a tenure that started off really good, and then he got a little too complacent for himself, and it really ruined his legacy at the end of the day because we know that he did not want to sell this team. It was a force to sell this team. The NFL wasn't going to publicly come out and tell him to sell the team, but literally they did, in a private situation. Now, I'm going to just finish with this. This seems like it's a good ownership group coming in. And if they do what they did, it seems like the same situation that the Dodgers had years ago. They had McCourt, who was a owner who started off well and crashed and burned. And he needed to be saved. So Magic brought in some buddies and people that we used to work with the Braves and things like that. They bought them. And now they do the same thing with Washington. But this is where I'm going to end it at. Magic's not the owner of the Washington team, okay? He's a part of the group. Just like with the Dodgers, he's a part of the group. So when it's time to pick up people and hire people, do not look at Magic to make the final decision because that's not that's not what he does. He shows up and says, "Hey, how you doing? It's Magic. I'm here, and let's have a good time, man. I love Washington, man. All right, on to something else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that situation right there. But Daniel Snyder, all in all, He won't ever go to the Hall of Fame, but thank you very much because he brought in a lot of the big money that the NFL is blessed with today.
No, I agree. Like I said, there's a lot of good, and don't forget too, one of the things that I'll remember the most about this, he was the man behind the scenes to get Chucky fired as well. And there's a lot of skeletons in that closet, which again, as we know, listen, I'm not the biggest Chucky supporter, but he was definitely railroaded. I'm not here to support what he was saying behind closed doors with all the billionaire club. But again, Snyder was a big part of why he got railroaded as well.
Well, man, I'm telling you, this would be something that's very, very good if it winds up bringing Washington back into relevancy, because we've been trying really hard to get Washington back to being one of the better teams in the NFL because, like I said, we have to have certain teams be really good for the NFL to be really great. And I will say Washington's one of them, the Miami Dolphins, the Raiders, the Giants. I'm not going to say the Jets because the Jets are kind of like a nice little story, but teams that really are always, it doesn't matter. You can be as bad as you want to be and be as good as you want to be, but your fan base is still going to be there loud and proud. You know what I mean? But when you're really good, the league is better. It's much better. And I'm not going to name off everybody because it's like 8-9 teams that really are like the lifeblood of the NFL. Like when you have teams like Carolina be good, it doesn't really matter. When you have teams like Jacksonville be good, it doesn't really matter. Arizona, it doesn't really matter because you never believe in those teams anyway. You know what I mean? But you have just some teams that just have fan bases where they've been touched so much by these teams, and these teams have had great finishes and great games that you'll never forget those moments. And that's why the NFC East is such a heralded, treasured division. Now, let's get into the NFC East while we are on that topic. And we're going to just be real quick about that part because, we're going to start back NFL Bet Exchange early August, and we'll start previewing all these divisions for that situation, so we don't have a 3-hour show, Jeff. I promise. I promise, Jeff, we weren't going to do that again. So we're going to break them down, 2x2s and things like that before we get to the season. So this is just the first look at the NFC East. This isn't. I'm not trying to ask you to put any predictions on any of these teams, but what are your first thoughts? And up first, we'll go in alphabetical order. None other than them boys. What are you thinking about the Cowboys right now?
I mean, from a betting standpoint, I would have to say I think they're plus 175 to win the division. The Eagles with the dream run last year. On paper, the Eagles, obviously the team to beat. The Cowboys, they add Brandon Cooks. Pollard now will be their lead back. They got a backup with Deuce Vaughn, Ronald Jones, wide receiver. One of the best wide receivers in the game was CeeDee Lamb. They lose Dalton Schultz to Houston. Their number 2 and number 3 wide receivers, Michael Gallup. I talked about Brandon Cooks. They need some solid efforts there. Defense, Mr. Parsons, one of the best in the business. Good defense. Of course, you got Dak at the helm. Is he going to stay healthy? Cooper Rush saved the season last year. Once Dak went down early, the season was over, but Cooper was able to go, I think it was 5-1 or something like that. So the actual early value is to grab Dallas. I'm not paying the minus money for the Eagles to win this division. And looking at the opening week, Dallas does play the Giants. Opened at 3.5-point favorites on that Sunday night game, with the Commanders 6-point favorites against a bad Cardinals team. And the Eagles are going to head to New England, and a number that opened at 3 that went up to 5.5, probably 6 at kickoff. So if you want to play the waiting game, don't play the Eagles early. Grab your Dallas at plus 175 to win the division, and I think you might be off to a good start there, Pops.
All right, well, that's where Jeff is looking at now. What are your thoughts on the Giants, real quick? And we don't have to get into the Saquon situation because he's been kind of, news for the show all week. And I know that how your thoughts are about the running back position and everything like that, and how my thoughts are. So, pretty much, what is your breakdown of the Giants going into the season? And let's just say Saquon will be there for the sake of being there. So, do you think that this team, with this issue that's going on, is probably going to prolong into preseason? Do you feel this will be a big distraction and take away from what this team built last season?
100%. I mean, he's on whether it was a podcast or whatever, dropping F bombs. He's in a real bad spot because he is the cog that makes that team go, but they decided to pay the quarterback. And as we know, the NFL is not paying running backs. Now, Saquon is, I don't want to say injury prone. I want to say he's more gut bad luck. Some of the injuries that this guy has had has not been, all his fault, with ankles getting rolling by his own players, yada, yada, yada. The rest of the team is hearing the podcast. They're reading the papers. Oh, there's no such thing as sports pages in New York anymore. Anyways, my point is they took a small step last year. No team has won, back-to-back NFC East in a bazillion years. Could the Giants shock the world and win the division? Maybe. Wide receiving, they got Jalen Hyatt. They got some good young wide receivers. They added Darren Waller. We're assuming Barkley's there. Defense is not Lawrence Taylor Giant-esque defense. They need some work in the back end there. But overall, I would put them ahead of Washington, at least at this point. Could they be sneaky? Sure. But you do know this. If you hold out and you get to camp late, the odds of getting an injury increases 50%. You're just not in game shape. You're trying to prove to everyone, I'm ready to go. And lots of times you get a quick injury there. So you got to kind of with kid gloves here. And again, they open up as 3.5-point dogs against those Cowboys that we were just talking about, Pops.
All right. Well, we got it. That's it right there. And you already talked about the Eagles. Real quick, what is your idea about Washington?
Washington, was it Sam Howell, UNC quarterback? I'm a big Terry McLaurin fan. I think Jahan Dotson takes the next step. Your backfield of Brian Robinson, Mr. Gibson. Defense, the great savior from Ohio State was injured the last 2 years. They have issues. I would put them fourth on the totem pole right now. What is it? I don't even know what their under-over is right now, but I'd be surprised. They will, in my eyes, today on July 21st, I would have to say that I can't see them being over 500, Pops.
Well. All right. Well, first, Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are actually going to regress a little bit this year. No Zeke, and Tony. I don't think Tony Pollard's going to be the same running back that he was before because he doesn't have Zeke there anymore. I know that it looked good when Zeke was out and all that good stuff, but he's a versatile back. He's a swing back. He's a guy that you can line up in different spots and things like that, but you can't say he's going to be their bell cow. So I think that they might just possibly have a reunion here with Zeke once they start going into actually training camp and everything like that. That's why I think they're kind of holding out. That's why I think Zeke hasn't signed with anybody yet. But like you said, there's a lot of people that are like running backs want to get their money. And I know that's what they want to do. But still, at the end of the day, you got to get a job, too, because you still got to pay these bills. So he may be coming back to Dallas. You know what I mean? I haven't heard anything in that nature, but I know Jerry. And Jerry does like to say, you know what? Okay, we don't have what we need to have. We'll bring back Zeke. But I think that maybe that situation is probably dampered and is done with because how bad they kind of treated Zeke there at the end of his tenure with the team as well. So, you can probably rule that out. Now, you got the Eagles, who are probably going to be the most overhyped team in some time. Everybody's picking the Eagles to win the Super Bowl next year. Everybody's picking the Eagles to win the NFC. Everybody's picking the Eagles to win this division. I think that you need to kind of dial it back a little bit because you have a quarterback that is always at the risk of being put out of a game. So pretty much you have that to deal with. And I think that a lot of teams have to understand that. I mean, I think them as a whole unit, they have to understand they have to keep their quarterback upright. So that offensive line is going to have to play perfect, and nobody's perfect. So that's the risk and reward that you have with it. And I don't know if they have a good enough backup quarterback to continue their dominance in the division, but they have a good enough personnel on both sides of the trenches to say anybody can get thrown back there and possibly have an opportunity to do it big back there. So I don't know who's their backup quarterback at this moment in Philly.
It's not Minshew, right? He left, or is he still in the building?
Minshew is in Indianapolis now.
I'm drawing a blank. Who came in for Hurts when he was hurt last year? I'm drawing a blank.
It was Minshew.
Yeah. So I'm not sure who the backup is.
Or somebody that they signed off in camp. But regardless of anything, I would say this, probably Marcus Mariota will probably be somebody that they'll sign eventually, you know what I mean, this offseason, because he could be the possible, a good emergency quarterback in place. Now, Giants, I think that the Giants may use this as motivation, especially if they get back Saquon and say that, you know what, this got to be the year that we do something big. And Saquon could do the greatest thing ever and sign his tag and lead his team to a NFC East title. And that would be absolutely remarkable if he could do something like that. That would be in the a la Emmitt Smith mold as well, too. And that will show your importance to the team if you can lead your team to something that's feasible like a championship. So I think that he truly does need to keep fighting for his right to get his money. But at the same time, too, you say, you know what, use it as motivation and get yourself to that point. That's what a lot of the OGs used to do, man. And that's what you got to kind of understand as a running back. You ain't never going to get no respect at the position. You always going to be getting banged up, hit up, and they're going to keep saying, get on out there and play. You know what I mean? So, pretty much at the end of the day, you play one of the toughest positions on that side of the ball. So, you got to be tough mentally as well, too. And Washington, I don't want to put Washington all the way out there yet, but see, Washington's problem is no quarterback. Sam Howell, there's a reason why they didn't pick you in the first round. Come on, Jeff, you know this. If he was a first-round grade when he didn't come out, but when he showed us who he truly was, he's just a good clipboard holder. And you can put him in the game for 2 or 3 games. But at this point right now, Washington's going to be having a quarterback carousel, so you don't really know what it's going to be. And they're having a little bit of doubts on that defense as well, too. So we'll see how it goes. But Ron Rivera is probably the star of this team going into this season right now. So I have more about this as I do more research on all these rosters, and we can just go from there, Jeff.
Gotcha.
All right. So let me make sure I keep Jeff interested.
I'm here.
Let's go. I'm just messing with you. So, Texas A&M has recruited well. Can they truly compete with the SEC elite? Because, we talk about LSU, we talk about Georgia, we talk about Alabama, but a lot of people don't understand Texas A&M actually has done the best recruiting in the conference over the last few years, but Jimbo Fisher hasn't been able to deliver a top 5 team, even though they keep giving them top 5 rankings in the preseason. Thoughts?
Every time we hype up Jimbo, they poop themselves. And no one, listen, Texas has got a lot of money. They probably got the most money out of it. Their boosters are the biggest. They can't get it done. This year, though, could be different. They're going to be good with yours. But my point is, A&M was funneling money after money, and they were butt awful last year. And the fact of the matter is, they wanted Jimbo's head after week 2, week 3. They got so much money tied up in Jimbo that, again, I don't think they were going to cut him loose. but they gotta produce, Pops. But elite is not the word when I think of A&M. I think they're flashy. They got, they'll show a flash of greatness. They'll be 17-point underdogs against Bama or Georgia or LSU, and they'll be right there tooth and nail. A handful of years ago, they pulled the big upset. When they're put on the big stage with the bright lights, Pops, I just don't see it. Toe-to-toe, week-to-week with the elite, I don't see it, Pops.
Well, I think that my biggest thing with them right now is that, oh yeah, and just real quick, just a little breaking news. All you guys following my horse plays on Twitter and everything like that, the early pick 5 just cashed. Whoop, 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 whoop. $821 for you guys. Yep. Go, and then y'all still chasing the guys that make you put 200 on a 1-2 to get back $20, dog.
I know. And no, put them on put them to show and get back 10.
Yeah. Put the show bet on there, put 100 on there and get $10 back. Yep, a whole $10. So, but it's all good. I'm not gonna keep promoting those guys. I'm just gonna keep just throwing out my stuff. But I would say it's time. Jimbo Fisher can't keep using that national championship as a trophy, at what it is, a trophy. He can't use that as the pinnacle of him being a good coach. We've figured out that he's pretty average at what he's doing. And he's another coach who's kind of in the Ryan Day situation. You were born on third base, but that doesn't mean that you hit a triple. And so pretty much I feel like his national championship came because that was the final Bobby Bowden recruited group. All those were Bobby Bowden's guys, every single one of them, even Jameis. And he took over a team that was already set. So it gave us the idea that they were really good. But when you got guys who are 23, 24 years old on the team, they're supposed to be good. That team, I had never seen that many red shirt seniors, so pretty much they had that, but they had a team that had a lot of NFL talent on it as well too. So Jimbo had no choice but to win, but we could see the inklings of him not being a good coach very early. And let's just go back to the national championship that they won. They literally got to a dogfight with Auburn, who didn't really have a great offense and got into the game on a lucky play. So it was kind of weird that they weren't able to just handle them like that. But they wound up winning the game. That was good for them. And then the next year they played in the Final Four, the first ever Final Four, and Oregon absolutely ransacked them at the Rose Bowl. And then Jimbo Fisher became a bad coach as soon as that happened. And then what he did was, when the going got tough and Clemson just kept beating your head in, you go run off to Texas A&M. They overpay you to come to Texas A&M because Texas A&M is looking for a miracle. They're looking at the fact that you recently won a national championship, but they didn't factor in the fact that that wasn't your team. So that was like if Steve Fisher would have got the job at UCLA instead of San Diego State. It would have never worked. And that's what the biggest problem is. A guy like Jimbo Fisher is a good AAC coach. You know what I mean? He's a good, Big Ten, I'm over at somewhere like Nebraska type coach, but not at a place like Texas A&M with big expectations. This team is trying to figure out a way to be the best thing in Texas, and everybody should know that. They've went ahead and they tried to get as more donorship money than the University of Texas, and they even went to a better conference because they want to show the University of Texas that they can put together a superior program over what they have going. But now they're gasping for air, and guess who's on the way to save them? The Longhorns. Because they need that rivalry again. They don't even have a real rival in the SEC. LSU's not your rival. they're kind of rented to you. You know what I mean? But you got Texas and Oklahoma on the way, and then you'll probably step up your game a little bit more. So that's why I said, Jimbo, you only got so much time left because there's a lot of good talent in college football that can actually take this team to the next level. And I feel like if he doesn't get it right this year, Texas A&M has to go ahead and go get themselves a young, fresh coach. And you know what? I clown the guy all the time, and I really be on his head really hard. But Cliff Kingsbury would be a great coach for this team if they brought him over.
Well, he's living off of what were they, 17-point underdogs, the Johnny Manziel moment. You know, that's what he's living off of it right now in A&M.
He wasn't even the coach then. Summerlin was the coach.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you're right.
And Summerlin winds up getting fired the next year or a few years after that. And then he goes to Arizona and gets fired from that place too because he wasn't a good coach.
See, unfortunately, the SEC, you know, expanding. Listen, you can't look at the top of the heap. You got the Georgias now, 2-time national champs. You got Alabama, who's looking to get back into prominent land. They're tired to hear about Georgia. LSU brings in Brian Kelly. They're the talk of the town this year as well. So again, you can't bring in a Kingsbury, in my point, and score 30 because you're going to give up 50 because he's too worried about the offense. And then, you know, hey, guys, we scored 33 today in Athens, but we gave up 50. I mean, you're only going to last so long. You need to almost build from the bottom up in the SEC. There's just so much talent, so many 5-star recruits, coaches embedded, you know, in their position. The Sabans, the Kirbys, now the Brian Kellys. You got Kiffin over there. The list is endless. So I don't believe in Jimbo. He should have stayed, but he ran for the money grab. Hey, like Ed Ogeron, you know, hey, you want to fire me? Fine. Just cut that $37 million check and I'll be happy. Jimbo's the same way. You can fire me, cut me the leftovers, and then I'll go to Fox for a year. I'll talk what's his name there from Ohio State, the former Jacksonville coach. I'll do that for a year, and then I'll go back into these lanes. So long way to go. I think they're light years away. They'll show some flashes, but long-term, 12, 13 game season, nah, I don't see it, Pops.
Well, I'm with you, brother. I think that this is the writing on the wall, and it doesn't matter who you recruit. If you can't coach, then it's not going to happen. It's just that simple. And I think that Jimbo Fisher will wind up getting fired, but he's going to get another job somewhere else. You know what I mean? And it'll probably be some Pac-12 school, to be honest with you. And I would say possibly somebody like Cal, but I know Cal probably already has a new coach, but still, you know, Cal, Stanford, one of those teams. Who else would need them? Well, we won't say Colorado. Arizona State. They're so loose on firing people, you know. So pretty much tips are always welcome. Yeah, I had to throw that out there too as well, Jeff, because it's like, yeah, bro, you guys just hit $800. Come on, man. You're gonna go tip the guy over at Saratoga who gave you the tip. So you go ahead and tip the guy who gave you the tip on Twitter, man.
Go fund me. Start it up, brother. Start it up.
But then, you know, that's going to piss off the people that can't be good at stuff because it's going to be like, and look, always I'm here trying to ask somebody for some money. It's so funny. But I just made you some money.
They got amnesia. Don't worry about it.
Right, because it's like I gave you the playbook, the scoreboard. I didn't charge you an arm and a leg for it. So, you know, go on over.
Tip all right, the dealer, please.
So I only got Jeff. Jeff, you'll be able to still talk to me a little bit about this, right?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, because I know I messed up the first 8 minutes.
That's all right.
A little bit, and honestly, I just wanted to talk about Snyder for about 2 minutes, and we wound up talking about him a little bit longer than I wanted to. So, will the Blue Jays be a buyer at the deadline, and can they still the AL East.
Can they steal the AL East? Probably not. The first place Baltimore Orioles are currently in a dogfight with the Tampa Bay Rays. Baltimore, Toronto has all the youth that you could ever ask for. Manoa failed them early. They send him down to instructional ball. He has a good first game. Reality set in. 91 pitches, 4 innings, 4 runs, 4 walks. Yada yada yada. The same old, same old. Gosman's kind of hit the wall, but he's their ace. Berrios has been serviceable. Chris Bassett's been serviceable. Their back end needs some help. They don't need any offensive help. I still think they will be buyers. I don't know what's out there. You know, the Shohei talk, you know, there's no way Shohei's going to Canada for 3 months. We know that. So who's out there and what's the price tag? Yankees, Red Sox fighting for the basement. It's there for them. When the dust settles, do they make the playoffs? That depends on what the Angels do. That will depend on, you know, the Central, you know, between the Twins and the Guardians there. I think the Rays will be in the playoffs. I think the Orioles will be in the playoffs. The Red Sox will not be in the playoffs. I don't think the Yankees at this point will be, but they need Judge. They're going to add players as well. So if I'm the Jays, I'm going to be proactive. Let's get ahead of this. You don't have to wait till the last 2 days before the deadline when the price of poker goes up. If you're all in, be in. And they were last year. They made some moves last year, and then the year before they brought over Berrios, looking again to make that push. So I say, listen, they're hungry, and they got Vlad, they got Bo, they got the offense. Their pitching's not bad. They need some back end help, pops. That's what they need.
Okay. Well, you know what? And you beat me to it because I was going to mention the fact that they have a group that's very, very good that has been put together the right way, you know, and, you know, they didn't say, okay, let's make a big youth movement like everybody thought they were going to do. No. They didn't do that. They brought in the best players from their farm. They didn't just say, let's just bring people from the farm. And then they picked up Springer, which was huge because Springer's coming fresh off of that run that they're having down there in Houston, and he was the X factor for that run. You know what I mean? Altuve took over, but Springer was the beginning. He was the start for them. And then you have Vlad, who I think that his star power is kind of falling off a little bit, Jeff. Don't you think? Because he's not good at first base. And somebody argued with me the other day. He won a Golden Glove. I said they're just giving anybody Golden Gloves nowadays, dog. Come on. I was like, bro, it's had some of the most horrible errors I've ever seen. Like literally, he's waiting to become a DH forever. You know what I mean? You know, and this to me, I feel like the Blue Jays have a great opportunity, but they're just not ready yet, Jeff. And don't discount your Red Sox yet. The Red Sox have won their last 7 out of 10. And this is the most competitive division in baseball. Just because the Orioles and Rays are ahead of everybody right now doesn't mean that they're going to be ahead of everybody at the end of September. You know, because they haven't the Orioles haven't suffered their losing streak yet. The Orioles are the most consistent winner in the league this year. They haven't lost one series, Jeff. They 70 straight series without being swept. Well, they've lost series, but without being swept. That's key right there for a season. You know that. And so pretty much the Orioles just haven't had their moment to get cooled off. That's why, you know, they're the nicest steady right now. The Rays, absolutely 13-0 to this now. They've won 47 games since then. You would think that they should have won more. But they've only won their last they've lost what? Their last 16 out of 20 games. That's awful. Nobody's mentioning that. And they say, why is nobody mentioning that? Because the Devil Rays aren't good. They aren't everybody knows who they're good, but we know who they are. They're a middling team that builds through the farm. They don't have these box office stars. They had a good start to the season. They they were front running in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and they're not curling, so not American Pharaoh. So that's what happened. All you did was set the field up, and now what you've done is you've given Baltimore. Baltimore is being a 50-1 brave gelding right now, and you got the Blue Jays over here being a nice little a nice little middle price that kind of is sneaky, but everybody kind of liked them going in. And then you got the good old vets who know what they're doing, the Red Sox and the Yankees, trying to put together one big run. I'm using horse racing references as well, too. Jeff knows that. And they're looking for one big run. And that's why I say no team in this division, this is probably the first ever division that doesn't have anybody who's selling, except for maybe your Red Sox. If they feel like, you know what, we want to put ourselves in position to build up the farm and kind of keep this cap space in a certain place, okay. But I doubt that. You know what I mean? Because the Red Sox are actually playing their best baseball of the year right now. So this is tough. And that's why I say that if you want to bet a future on the Blue Jays winning this division, you shouldn't hesitate on doing it, in my opinion, to be honest with you. So with that, I will say that, Blue Jays have a really strong opportunity to steal this thing if they make the right moves. And I say making the right moves means this. You got him below because he's worthless now. And you have to go ahead and figure out getting another veteran back over there as well, too. And I think that if they can get those things right, the sky's the limit for this team. That's the whole thing. Because they have a mentality where it's like you truly don't have anything to lose. And now we've pretty much figured it out. If you are in the top 3 in the AL East, you're in the playoffs. So it's go time. It's because everybody's in the race. It's not like they're not in the race. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. We know Houston's probably a lock to get into the playoffs. And I don't care. I know everybody loves Texas, the Rangers, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, though, the Rangers are another team that hasn't had their losing streak yet. And when does it happen? I hope they can't make it. It can't happen when the Astros start ascending, which we all can see happening in September, because we know this division, a lot of times the West has been won in September. It's never won at this point of the year, but when it gets close, it's going to get won in September. So we'll see how it goes, but I just know that this AL East thing is going to go all the way down to the final week of the season. I just can feel it happening, and it's going to be an absolute fun ride. So if your team is in the AL East, don't lose faith in them now. But we can all kind of agree. This isn't the usual Yankees that we're used to, and the Yankees really do need to really hope that Aaron Judge does come back, because if he doesn't come back, they're finished. They're done. They're done.
And the Rays tried to pull what the 84 Tigers did. The 84 Tigers started 35-5 and then just played 500 ball. The rest was history. In the extra wild card era that we do, there was no wild card obviously back then. Now you got 3 wild card teams, and you got a very competitive division. The Orioles, the pesky Orioles of last year, have got another year older. They got the best 8th, 9th in the game right now, and you talked about them not getting swept. Here's a little advice to anyone following the Orioles. If they lose the first 2 games of a series, you make sure you play them in game 3, number 1. Number 2, play their team total over as well. That's money in the bank. This team won't go away. And lastly, for the Jays in that wild card spot, again, you brought it up, and that was my bad. Out west, you got the Rangers on top, but you got the Astros, who it's theirs to lose, and the Angels. The Central, whoever wins is in. Whoever doesn't win is the rest of them are gone. And then again, in the American League, the Rays will find a way to get in, I think. But the Orioles, maybe the Yankees get your Dodger 9-1 run and get back in with Judge, and they add a couple pieces. But again, the Jays have the makeup, they have the mentality, they have the offense. They need some back end help. I know I keep saying that. They need Manoah to be Manoah too. They need Manoah to be Manoah, not manure. And with Gosman, with Berrios, and with Bassett. So we'll see, Pops.
All right. That sounds great to me. I actually like this team the way that they're setting up for this division as well, too. Because if I had to choose anybody right now who could just steal the division, it's the Jays.
I agree.
No doubt. But the Orioles, I feel like they truly kind of showed who they really are in this Dodgers series. They're here. They're there. It's exciting. They're back, but they don't have the pieces to be a really good playoff team. They got the pieces to get there and have a good little cute story, but they're a sweep easily. You sweep them out, or they'll get their one little win and they move on. It's over with for them because they're ahead of schedule. And so if they were to blow this situation where they missed the playoffs, nobody should be mad at them because they played over their expectations this year. And all what they've proven to us is that watch out. And it's happened before. So, we'll see how it goes. They don't have one of these top flight managers. They don't have a significant veteran in the dugout, and they don't have a ace either. They don't have a great pitching rotation, but they have a great bullpen. That's what's helping out the Orioles at this point. But I do have to take that back. They do got one veteran, Gibson, and that's probably been the rock of that rotation, and that's why the rotation has been good, because you have a guy like that who's been in the league for a while, was successful in the league, was in a successful situation, and he knows how to incorporate that with this group. And those are the guys that you need to get. Sometimes people they don't have to be rock stars or superstars. They just got to be guys that know what the hell they're doing. The consummate professional. And that's all. And those guys are absolutely integral to young teams moving forward and being good teams.
I agree.
Yep. So, all right. So, man, we could do this all day. I thank Jeff so much. I know I can't have him for no more time, but we do have more segments coming up. We got Talkin Tickets, Blue Crew Daily, and we're going to talk about the MLB Friday Night as well, too. But, Jeff, before I let you go, let him go ahead and get your handles and all that good stuff and where to find you at. And, just let them know, pretty much, what you're going to eat for dinner tonight and, all that good stuff.
First and foremost, always a pleasure to be a part of the movement. You and I been here together through thick and thin, East meets West, Larry versus Magic since day one of Twitter, gambling Twitter. So thank you. As we're getting closer to August and September, the NFL Bet Exchange will be coming back. Excited for that. Year 4, I think, correct? Is that correct?
Yep.
Year 4.
Yep.
For me, go on to the Twitter, as Pops likes to say, on EC Sports Invest. Follow me, I'll follow you back. Our website is at eastcoastsportsinvestors.com. You can send us an email at eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com as well. As Pops, we do have monthly, quarterly, half a year, full year services available. We call it the ECSI VIP experience. Email, text, delivered right to you, our daily plays, reasons why I read the market and like your very personal sports broker. So hit me up there. Otherwise, Pop, best of luck on the horses today and the rest of the weekend. To all the fans and followers, thank you guys. Everyone, enjoy yourselves. Have a good weekend.
All right, Jeff. Thank you so much, sir. You are the absolute man. But I'm gonna be back. We're gonna take a quick commercial break because I'm about 20 minutes to about almost damn near 30 minutes over from a commercial break. So we're gonna go ahead and take this commercial break, and Jeff will be back with us next Friday. I look forward to that as well too. And thank you so much, sir. And let's go ahead and win the weekend.
100%, sir. Have a day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DBacks, the PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Cappers. And let's go ahead and jump into some Blue Crew Daily. And the Dodgers find themselves in Arlington this weekend, their second home now since they won their World Series there and everything back in 2020. The Dodgers Rangers in the biggest series of the weekend as both first place teams started 3-gamer. Now, the Rangers, fresh off of a sweep of the Rays, and they got a day off. The Dodgers winning, taking 2 out of 3 against the Orioles. So it's funny that those two teams are meeting up this weekend to settle who's going to be the top of the AL East, while the Dodgers and the Rangers try to hold off their oncoming rivals. It's funny because the Dodgers are trying to hold off the Giants while the Rangers are trying to hold off the Astros. So it's kind of a coincidence in a sense, you know what I mean? So pretty much when you look at this game tonight, you got a really good matchup that's going to go down. The Dodgers look to try to keep the good times rolling. They want to win this series this weekend against the best top teams in the division. They are, in the league against the American League, they are 3-3 at this point. So they're trying to, right some wrongs here. Andrew Heaney, former Dodger, is going to be pitching for the Rangers tonight. Tony Gosselin's back on the mound, 5-3 on the year. And last time out, he went 5 innings, struck out 3, and only gave up a run. So it was a good little bounce back from, him struggling for 4 games straight before that. So it's good to have him back in the groove somewhat, and hopefully they can keep him in a groove tonight because this is a tough team that they're playing against when it comes down to this matchup tonight. So when you look at the Dodgers' approach, they know that they're now getting a lot more aggression from the lineup because they have an older lineup in place as well too. So I think that when it comes down to it, I think tonight it's going to be a game that's going to be a real chess match in a sense. And I know a lot of people feel like it's going to be a lot of scoring, but I don't feel like it's going to be like that. I feel like it's going to be enough scoring. It's not going to be anything that's going to be crazy or anything like that, but it's going to be a good game tonight. When I look at this series, this is a very winnable series for the Dodgers, and they really do need to think about winning the series because they're only up 2.5 games, and you can't afford a sweep here. So I think when it all comes down to it, the Dodgers should win this series. And this is actually a -110 on each side, so it doesn't matter. It's a 50-50. So pretty much you pick a side and hope they win. That's just pretty much it right there. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward. And I'm kind of moving a little quickly because we do have we are kind of running behind on time. So pretty much let's move on to our next game, and that's going to be the Mets and the Red Sox. The Mets and the Red Sox are going to be 45 to 51 Mets coming in here going against the Red Sox, who are 51-46. As I told Jeff when he was on the show, that the Red Sox are trying to put together one big run here. they find themselves 8.5 games out of first place, but find themselves 7.5 games out of second place. But the key number for them right now is they find themselves 3 games out of the playoff spot at this point, and they are the first team out. So them and the Yankees really are chasing Toronto at this point. So, pretty much when you look at everything set up tonight, the Mets are putting in their last-ditch efforts. I promise you, if the Mets have a terrible weekend this weekend, if they wind up losing this series, losing 2 out of 3, or getting swept, I promise you, they are going to start picking up that phone on Monday and seeing what they can do to move one of these Hall of Fame pitchers that they do have so they can start collecting some assets. So I think tonight, when it comes down to this game is more about the hitters. And I feel like when we get into this one tonight, we can go ahead and circle that this one will wind up going over. But let me double confirm that it's going over as well, too. Actually, yes, over 9.5 will be the play for this one tonight, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Now, let's move forward to a game that's between two teams that are kind of have played above and beyond expectations this year. Diamondbacks, I told you guys were going to be better this year, but I didn't know that they were going to be in position to be in the playoffs this year. And the Reds, I told you guys they probably weren't going to be the last place team, and they were on the up and up, but they just weren't ready yet. Well, they proved me wrong. They're more than ready. Same thing goes for the Diamondbacks. I didn't think that they were that ready, but they were ready as well too. So pretty much when we go ahead and break down this whole situation, you have a Diamondbacks team that is trying to catch back up with the first place spot. Good, luckily for them, they're only down 3 games at this point. But at one point, they were up 5 games. So this team is trying to figure out how to keep themselves in the mix. And also, they're still chasing the playoff spot as well, too. So there's a lot of things that are working out in their favor right now, but they got to stay afloat because they are in a deadlock tie with the Giants, and they're not too far ahead of the Phillies, who are on a torrid pace right now at this point. And then you still got Miami on the outside looking in, and you still got Cincinnati. So you have yourself a very close race when it comes to that final wild card spot. But with the wild card spots in general, you got 5 teams chasing 3 spots. So we'll see how that one shapes up. But at the end of the day, this is one of the better series of the weekend as well, too. And I'm going to take the under here because Nelson is a good pitcher, and he's just, he's kind of going through the emotions a little bit, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on both sides. And Lively's been really good. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move forward from there. All right, so we have up next, we have the Blue Jays and the Mariners. The Blue Jays and the Mariners, this is another one of these really good games because the Mariners are still in position to make the playoffs while the Blue Jays are in a position right now where they're trying to hold teams off. But when you look at Seattle's 5.5 games out of that playoff spot that they need to get to, while you have a Toronto team that's sitting about 4.5 games behind the Rays right now for the first wild card spot. And then when it comes down to the division, they're actually 5.5 games behind Baltimore. So they're on a nice little run right now as they won their last 7 out of 10 games. So pretty much they are in the driver's seat to get to where they need to get to win-wise. You know what I mean? And that's the top of the AL East. So pretty much you have this Seattle team who's now dropped back into 4th place after the Angels won 3 in a row against the Yankees. They find themselves 9.5 games out of first place, and then they find themselves kind of far out of the playoff spot, but it's still feasible, 5.5 games. So this game is very important because these two teams are chasing the playoffs at this point. Seattle's kind of playing for their season at right now, while the Blue Jays are trying to stay steady and get themselves in position to win this division. So tonight with this one, I feel like this game will wind up being an under game because you got 2 really good pitchers on the mound in Yukichi and with Bryce. So it should be a really good game between those two. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move from there. And our next topic, we're going to move to Talkin Tickets. And with Talkin Tickets today, we have ourselves the MLB Series Bets, and the Tigers, I have them at plus 150 today. I feel like they should go ahead and get themselves a nice little win here today. And a nice little win here for the series. Then we have the Giants, who are minus 190 in their series this weekend. I know it seems like, why are you taking the Giants? And, you be talking about the Dodgers and blah, 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 blah. But, the Giants minus 190, I feel like this is an important series for them this weekend, and it's a very winnable series for them this weekend because they're going against the Nationals. Now, you have the Reds, who are in pretty much a 50-50 job, and I feel like the Reds will go ahead and take care of their business against Arizona team that is – they did play really good, but they're starting to kind of falter a little bit now. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Then we got the Red Sox as the minus 115 today as well, too. But we also have them as the minus 115 for the series. This is going to be a very important series for them moving forward. If they can sweep this series, then it's a whole new ball game in the East. It seriously is, because we know that probably most likely the Orioles and Rays are going to split. So we got the Guardians plus 115 this weekend. The Guardians are in a series that's very, very important because they have to start, gaining ground on the Twins, because the Twins are starting to separate a little bit more and more every day because the Guardians are starting to become a very inconsistent bunch. So I do like them this weekend, plus 115. And then the Brewers, they're just trying to keep the Reds off their butts. So I'm going to take them with the plus 150 this weekend because I feel like they're going to show up this weekend as well, too. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.